One of the things that social media does is that it exacerbates uh, all the different kinds of tendencies and impulses which already exist within us, including all our classic human failings. And they may not even be failings, but instincts like, say, the need for validation and the need for
Yeah.
stature and the need to belong to a tribe, so to say, which we all want to do.
You mentioned discourse, right? And I've always thought that mediums like podcasting help build better discourse and help people think a lot more. How do you see discourse as it stands right now? I mean, you had a broadside view on topics that are affecting the world around us. From the conversations you had, and from your knowledge so far, where do you see we are, and do you see this going? And rather, where do you see this going? I know it's a loaded question, but just from what you've spoken to guests about and what you've learned.
I'm kind of see one from my own observations. I'm kind of dismayed and pessimistic at the way things are turning out because the thing is, I think social media is a great net positive. Thank God for the internet. You and I would not have met or be talking
Mm,
if not for all of that. That's but one of the things that social media does is that it exacerbates uh, all the different kinds of tendencies and impulses which already exist within us, including all our classic human failings. And they may not even be failings, but instincts like, say, the need for validation and the need for
yeah.
stature and the need to belong to a tribe, so to say, which we all want to do. So, what I find on what has happened on social media is that it's very easy for people to find their tribe, form
Mm,
their tribe, which can often be very comforting in different contexts and all of that. But in the context of politics, it means that you get into these ideological echo chambers. And the social scientist Cass Sunstein had a great term which he coined a few years ago called group polarization, where he
mm,
did these experiments where he'd put 10 Democrats in a room together or 10 Republicans in a room together, basically a bunch of like-minded people in a room together.
mm,
And his researchers would poll them on a bunch of questions before and after the session. And what they found was that everybody veered towards the extreme by the end of the session. Because during the session, they are all validating each other, and
mm,
therefore they are going more and more towards the extreme. So the least extreme guy is more extreme at the end of the session than, it's kind of crazy. And exactly the same thing happens on Twitter, where once you join a tribe, you
mm,
want to sort of signal your purity and your fitness for that tribe. So you can
yeah.
do this either by virtue signaling, you can do this by shitting on others, including shitting on others in your group, saying they're not pure enough, he's not
Yeah.
liberal enough, or he's not nationalistic enough, and all of that crap.
Yeah.
Or you do it by shitting on the other side. And how do you do on the how do you do it to the other side? You don't engage with them. You're never
Mm,
talking with them. You're talking
mm,
past them. You're never addressing their argument. You are always sort of either mocking them, or you're mocking a straw man version of their argument, and that discourse is completely broken down. So for a couple of years, I edited this online public policy magazine called Pragati, and
mm,
my policy there was that we will never talk about people or parties. We will
mm,
talk about ideas and policies. That's
yeah.
what we'll focus on. We
Yeah.
don't care where it's come from. We don't let that come into the picture. But today, a lot of that is in the picture. So if somebody opposes party X, they will not find one good thing to say about party X. If they
Yeah.
support party Y, they will not find one bad thing to say about party Y, which is
Mm,
absurd, which is unreal. It's like religion, it's like religious faith. And
yeah.
that's kind of what has happened to our discourse. And there are so many um, people I meet and people I talk to who and people who come on my show who say things on the show they wouldn't say on Twitter, because
Yeah.
it's so easy to misinterpret that. And everyone's looking for a gotcha moment. Everyone's going to
Yeah.
jump on you. So that's not a space for nuance. And thankfully, those guys don't listen to long podcast episodes, at least not mine. What do you feel about it?
Someone asked me the other day, saying, "What does the world need, right, to move towards a more positive light?" And I said, "Conversation, right?" Because I was having this very like broadside chat with someone, saying, "What do you eventually want to do?" And I said, "I just want to eventually just have conversations, right?" What I enjoy the most about doing a podcast is I get to talk to people with different thought processes, different, from different spaces. And that, I feel, makes me think a lot more about what I do as well. And I feel we lack that, like what you just said, that we're all in our own bubbles, don't want to get out of it. I remember as a kid, you would have this saying about saying, that the fish in the pond versus in the ocean. And we found our own, social media has given us our own ponds to be in. And I said that the more conversations we have, the more we'll understand each other, and we're not going to be against, but we'll actually normalize the whole thing, right? We'll understand perspectives. And I find that to be my biggest worry. My biggest worry is that we kind of stop, if you talk political, if you talk anything else, I kind of veer towards saying, okay, what is realistic, but what is also right? And many times realistic and right do not align at all. And that's where you tend to get stuck. So I always push for dialogue.